The United States has passed a tragic milestone with now 200,000 Americans dead from the pandemic, dead due to Donald Trump's lack of leadership, his lack of compassion, his unwillingness to govern or ever be an effective leader. But Trump has continued his disinformation tour while campaigning. Here he is during a recent rally in Pennsylvania.
It affects elderly people with heart problems and other problems. If they have other problems, that's what it really affects. That's it. You know, in some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young because they have a hell of an immune system. But it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing.
It affects virtually nobody, as 200,000 Americans have died from the virus. More to come, of course. We're seeing increases of new coronavirus cases in 22 states. So there's more death and destruction on the way. And I remember, John, that Trump had a very candid conversation with Bob Woodward where he talked about who does get impacted by coronavirus. And if I recall correctly, it wasn't nobody. Let's watch.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob, because today and yesterday some startling facts came out. It's not just older
yeah, exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people. Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you.
Sure, I want you to
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
He sure does. Because he's continuing to play it down, more people continue to die. John, what do you
he's obviously lying, and his audience doesn't care that he admits that it kills young people, and then he goes and tells them lies. I mean, and yeah, I love that. This is something that I mentioned when we talked about this in the damage report. The little slip there, where he said, in some of these states, thousands of people, nobody young. Like he stopped himself. Thousands of people, what? In those states. Died. Thousands of people died in those states, but none of them young. Obviously misinformation on the young side, but he had to acknowledge the massive number of dead. Like that's how the hyperbole works in his. So many dead people, but none of them young. Why not? Let's focus on this, not on the fact that thousands and thousands of people have died. It's horrendous. Add this to the list of things that single-handedly should have ended his re-election aspirations, but probably won't, because everybody in that audience thinks that like 4,000 people have died from COVID so far. Oh, and really fast too. Obviously, you are 100% right to point out the 200,000 that have died, the 800 to 1,200 that will die pretty much every day from here on out until the election. But also, let's remember, many hundreds of thousands of people have gone through grueling hospital stays. Their finances are basically shot for the rest of their life because of the insane costs that they're gonna have to bear as a result of that. Many of them will have lingering organ damage, heart damage, lung damage, and things like that that will affect them for the rest of their lives. So we definitely obviously have to focus on the deaths, but that is by no means the extent of the people that have been affected. Think about the family networks, the friend networks of people who have feared that their friends and family members in hospitals will die, the experience that they've gone through. This has affected so many people, literally millions, or virtually nobody.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because you're right. I mean, it should be brought up more often because people who do recover from coronavirus in many cases do have long-term health ramifications and then the health costs. I mean, we're just in a uniquely terrible position to deal with a pandemic because of our supply chains and also because of how our healthcare system is set up. And one other thing I wanted to bring up is that today CNN reported that Dr. Deborah Birx is thinking about resigning from the coronavirus task force because she's distressed about the direction the response is going in. I mean, she should have been distressed almost from the very beginning when it was very clear after about a week or two of shutdowns that Donald Trump wanted to reopen the economy immediately and risk countless people's lives so stock portfolios could rebound and so he can look out for his reelection campaign and also for his own financial interests. But luckily, a progressive group, Midas Touch, is holding Trump's feet to the fire and Kayleigh McEnany's feet to the fire. That's the White House press secretary who continues trying to cover up for Trump's lies. And so get a load of this incredibly strong ad.
This president will always put America first. He will always protect American citizens. We will not see diseases like the coronavirus come here.
The 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero.
This president has this under control. Right now, we're proceeding as normal. Joe Biden's looking for an excuse to get off the campaign trail.
50 or 60,000 people. 65,000 people. 75, 80 or 90,000 people.
They had minimum numbers of 100,000, and I think we're going to beat that.
We have between 100 and 200,000. We all together have done a very good job.
The United States has now registered 200,000 coronavirus deaths.
The death toll will surpass 410,000 by January.
Why haven't you said anything about the U.S. hitting 200,000 deaths?
Go ahead. Anybody else?
The president has always been clear-eyed with the American people. He was always clear-eyed about the lives we could lose. I will never lie to you. You have my word on that.
I mean, it was laughable when a reporter asked her, like, "But do you promise not to lie to us?" And of course she's gonna lie to you. What kind of question is that? First of all, forget Kayleigh McEnany. You should assume every White House press secretary is gonna lie to you. That's what they do. They're PR agents.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of, anyway. I don't know
if she
why
was
I'm
being
like
honest when she said that, she would have received a phone call. It would have been Trump firing her on the spot. That's what she's there for. He thinks
that's not what I hired you for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's there to lie, to fit the physical profile of the women that he's interested in, and to have an ever-expanding binder of excuses for all of his continued list of horrendous statements and criminal scandals. That's all that she's there for. She said it wouldn't get here, which was just, and it was an absurd thing to say. It was almost certainly already rampaging across America at that point. But even if it wasn't, how could you possibly think that none of it would get here? Or that, but again, her being wrong only matters insofar as people actually care that she was wrong and that he was wrong over and over and over again. And it's not necessarily clear that that many people are in that camp. But either way, it was a good video by them.
Definitely. She loves that binder. She loves that binder. That binder is thick. Like she's got her nose in that binder at least 50% of the time when she's doing these press conferences.
It's like a desperate wizard in his spell book. There's got to be something in here. And also, by the way, her most recent absurd statement that I think really should have gone in that video was that Trump, everyone knows Trump stays up at night, just sad about that even one person has died. Nobody thinks that.
No.
Trump supporters don't think that he's like, I can't sleep when I think about the 1,000 people that died today. Nobody thinks that he's doing that.
You refer to them as nobodies. I mean,
virtually nobody.
Essentially, virtually nobody.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.